Hey, it's Jacob. Welcome to this new video where I want to talk about the top-down approach versus the bottom-up approach. So top-down versus bottom-up. And so basically, there are two types of approaches, but there is one that usually leads to some type of problems that you want to make sure that you don't, that doesn't apply to you so that you don't make that mistake, because people get stuck and they don't know how to move forward again. So if you had that problem, and let me get into it right away with I'm going to take an example, just if you, let's say you want to create like a marketer AI, for example, and this is the marketer AI wants you wanted to create like an article with like specific things, right? Let's say it's an article in order to sell a product, for example, right? Or something like that. So basically, it's most likely going to be based on a large language model. And that large language model, you need to create a prompt for it. So you have that prompt here that you feed the large language model that is going to create the article. That's usually how you would do that. Now, the problem is the article is rarely like perfect from the start. So usually you're going to create multiple versions of the prompt. For example, like version 0, and then you're going to move forward to version 1. And version 1 is going to create a different article, right? So it should be better. That's really the idea, right? The idea is that this article is better. But the problem is it might be better because of like the specific things that you added to this prompt here, but maybe there is something else that it was doing well, and now in this new article it's not doing as well. And so you kind of need to tweak the prompt again and again, but the problem is that it's not going to improve the article. It's going to be a trade-off between different things. And it's never really you are never really like making the product better, basically. Like the AI product is always going to be something that is not quite working, basically. And then you get stuck because it's like, well, what can you do then? You can't really make it better because every time it's just a trade-off. There is no point to it. And if after like years and years of tweaking the prompts, then you realize then this approach didn't work. Well, what about like those years? Like how are you gonna leverage those years? Like you don't know what to do with that, because like now the problem is the fundamental problem is you need some type of older approach, right? You need to just start over again and maybe like separate the prompts into different prompts so that it's not going to work, so that it is going to work, to make it work. Otherwise, like you understand now that the large language model is not powerful enough to create the article that you wanted to create, or not at the level of quality that you want. So what do you do from there, right? This is exactly the type of problem that you can have and where you can get stuck when you're doing what is called a top-down approach. So this is the top-down approach, right? So let me clear that up. That is top-down. And the top-down approach has those problems. Now, how can you solve for those problems? And that's where I want to talk about the bottom-up approach. That's the correct approach in my opinion, just because like this is something where you are not going to get stuck because you have a lot of independent steps. So the problem with the top-down approach is you had the AI marketer in your mind and you reversed engineer based on like the output of that you wanted, right? Which was the article. Now the problem with that approach is the reverse engineering of the outcome should depend on like the actual expert process. So it has to be broken down into steps that the actual experts are already doing. You need to look at what people are already doing and try to replicate it, instead of like starting from the output that you have and then moving downwards towards like what the experts are doing and asking for them to make it better, basically. Because if you do that, then as we saw, like it's not going to work, because you're not going to be able to like independently work on the different part of the process of the expert, because you need that to be like independent things. So let me clear that up and let's talk about the bottom-up approach. Let me emphasize this one because it's the one that actually matters, right? And it's the right way to do things, and that's naturally how we do things. So basically, you have like a big outcome, let's say the article, but like there are multiple steps involved in doing the article. So one of those steps could be, let's say, creating the title, for example, right? The title. And creating the title, there might be like a few different steps to it, which is like, for example, identify like a verb that is corresponding to the result of the goal of the article or something like that. So it has to be a result, for example, right? So this step might involve like, for example, like list 10 potential results, right? And from those 10 results, eliminate the ones that are not good based on some type of criteria. Let's say those are criteria 1, criteria 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And then there are multiple steps to that process. And this is just in order to get to the result that is going to be used in order to build the title, which is one single part of the article that you want to create, right? And so if you are going to do that, then what you can do now is, if you work that way, is you take the first step here of like listing the results and you create a large language model associated to doing that. And then you have a different type of large language model or a different type of AI that is going to do that. Not necessarily a large language model. It can actually be like a heuristic type of approach or something different. It doesn't matter. It can be an algorithm. It can be 10 different things. But the point is, you can work on those steps here independently. And that's the thing. You need to be able to work on those steps independent of each other so that the system here, you have the system, and the system is based on like the expert. The expert is going to give you the system with every single step that has to be done correctly in order to create some type of thing that works, right? But in order to make it better and improve on that system, then you need to make sure that all of those steps are independent, so that if you see that the large language model here doesn't work, the large language model approach doesn't work, basically you have that same problem with the prompts, like prompt version 1, prompt version 2, prompt version 3, and then after like prompt version 100 or whatever, it still doesn't work, then you can think, oh, maybe that is not good enough, and now I need to work on like a different type of solution for this specific step. But the overall system is going to get better because each step of the process here is going to improve. And you can work on those independently, and you can also like manually do those steps. You know, you create the results, for example, like the perfect ones, and then you look at the next step here, and if it actually works, and if it if everything is good, then you know that this is the problem. The problem is right here, but everything else is correct, right? And so you can keep working on those steps without the entire thing working, and have basically like different types of tests for each different functions of the actual AI, right? But like those functions, when you are working on them, you cannot break everything else every time that you update one specific thing. That is the reason why you need the system here, right? So that's it for this video. If you want to be part of my contact, you can click on the link in the description. You'll get a free content from me, exclusive content from me. And thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.